Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. Trupti Mahatme, editor Maha IIP. Welcome everyone on behalf of Maha IIP for this important PATH session, which is Pediatricians Action for Teenagers' Health. We are running this program very successfully in the year 2023 with immense help and great efforts of Dr. Atul Kanikar sir, who is a coordinator of the PATH program, and with support of Dr. Ramakant Patil sir, President Maha IIP, and Dr. Amol Pawar sir, Secretary General Maha IIP. So I request Dr. Atul Kanikar sir to address the delegates. Kanikar sir?
Am I audible?
You are audible.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes or no? Am I visible? Okay. So I would say that my laptop has some problem. So good morning, everyone. And thank you, Sukanto sir, for joining this particular meeting.
Thank you, Atul.
Yes. And this monthly first Sunday program is a brainchild of our Maha IIP, Maharashtra IIP President, Dr. Ramakant Patil, with a very enthusiastic and energetic sort of secretary, Dr. Amol Pawar sir. And Nashik AHA is like, they have so much enthusiasm, practicality, and they are doing so many programs, not only in the city, but in the peripheries also. So we are growing, we want to grow, and our teenagers want to grow. So first Sunday of every month, we have had almost 6-7 programs so far by all the stalwarts. This first Sunday, we have selected one important topic of suicide prevention and depression in teenagers, which is definitely on the rise. So we have Phapda and Jalebi in today's program. Both Gujaratis. You understand? अरे मैडम आगे अरे मैडम हंसो मत please. I mean, both are very close to me, and Sushma Desai, as I can see her on the screen, I share every happiness and every problem with her, as you know. क्यों मैडम बराबर बोल रहा हूँ?
Thank you, sir.
And she is going to talk about suicide prevention. And Prashant Karia sir हमारे हैं जो depression पे बोलेंगे. He will talk on depression. So these are my very close people. Sushma Desai, I know her for last so many years.
Right.
Yes, and I would say that we are going to have maybe, I don't know how many, but this year we are planning some 12 programs. So this is the 8th program that we are having. So we are honored to have both these great speakers. They are, giants in their fields, and they are doing real practical job. So over to you, Trupti madam.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your words of encouragement and support. So now I request Dr. Sukanta Chatterjee, sir, who is a guest of honor for today's program. We have very distinguished personality today for the session, and sir is a chairperson of Central AHA. So I request Dr. Chatterjee, sir, to address the delegates with his words of wisdom.
Well, thank you and good morning. First of all, I'll thank the Maharashtra Academy of Pediatrics for inviting me. And I am really happy to know that you are doing this sort of programs every Sunday. And monthly program. And for adolescent health, which is our own heart, definitely we feel very much encouraged for that. And the two speakers that you have chosen are not only distinguished, but they are really expert on this particular topic. So I think they will do, sorry, they will do justice to this subject, and the audience will be benefited. And I also thank all the organizers, and particularly my thanks to Atul Kanikar, who has mentioned about these programs and all that, and also the backbone of not only IIP Maharashtra, but also the AHA as a whole. So I appreciate you also, Atul, and thank you for inviting me. And let us all wish this program will continue and do good for the adolescents of not only Maharashtra, but it will be spread all over India. And with that, I request the organizers to start this scientific program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words of encouragement. We are really honored to have you here for the session. So, delegates, let's begin with our first session with Dr. Prashant Karia. Sir, let me introduce sir in short. Sir is the director and CEO of Param Group of Hospital and Yuva Mitra Teen Clinic. He was West Zone ED member 2022-23 and presently is National Youth Forum in charge of AKI. He has various paper presentations in national and international journals, and he's being faculty in various national and also international conferences. His areas of interest are adolescent health, mental health, and sexual abuse. So I request Dr. Prashant Karia, sir, to start with his first session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Shruti. At the outset, I would thank Atul Kanikar, sir, for giving me an opportunity in this. I'm thankful that Amol Pawar is personally there with me in Udaipur. We both are in Udaipur, and he invited me in Udaipur. So he's there with me. Yeah. Same with Dr. Ramakant Patil. He was in Udaipur and we enjoyed a good time.
So
and it's a good thing.
You have Dokla and Thapra again.
Yes. And it's good that the joint coordinators like Sucheta Malvatkar and Reena Rathi, they are my batchmates of PGDAP. So thank you to them also. Same with Tripti Shulba and Chandrakant Survase. So without taking much of a time, I'll talk for around 30 minutes initially on the topic which has been given to me. I hope my screen is now visible.
Yes,
it is. It is.
Fine. So adolescent depression, it's okay not to be okay. I'm glad that Atul Kanikar sir, you have chosen this theme, adolescent depression and suicide, because 10th October is World Mental Health Day. Our minds are our rights. And as aptly been floated in the message, to anyone out there who is hurting, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for a help. It's a sign of a strength. So usually if you ask for a help, it's your sign of a strength. My special thanks to Awesome Aya module of Central AHA, a YOLO module of P4P, and Love You Zindagi module of Yuva Mitra for the slides in my PPT, which I'm going to use today. Do you think children can have a mental health issues? Is all well? If all was well, why this topic? So all is not well, and because of this is a topic. Let me have some cases initially. Arena, she was good in study, but somehow nowadays she's having only thoughts of Shubman Gill, but is not interested to talk to Reena. And now she is not able to concentrate in studies. So that is the first thing. Amog wants to look like Aishwarya and stop eating food for getting zero figure. That is the anorexia nervosa. I mean, these names are only a symbolic. Don't take it personally. Ishita, she's having a repeated fights with her mother on small topic and becomes angry easily, aggression issues. Nargis, she's having a repeated thoughts that she'll not be able to write in exams, that is anxiety. Bankim is spending too much of time in playing PUBG games, a gaming disorder and internet addictions. Omkar is having things, he thinks that her sister is getting more attraction than him from his parents, the insecurities. And Vamika was being sexually abused as a teen and now having repeated thoughts of doing self-harm, or depression and self-harm. So this is a rainbow, a colors of a rainbow, which is there, but it is a colors of a depressions also, because there are so many issues which can be there. It can be in form of romantic relationships, aggressions, insecurities, anxiety disorders, body image issues, OCDs, or worthlessness or depression that can cause a problem. Now, when this topic was given, the first thought which came was why to discuss this topic? Because in India, around 22% of population that is in the adolescent age group, and 50% of mental health disorders starts by the age of 14 years. So if you don't take care of our adolescents, the young adults and the adults will be facing a problems. The number of psychiatrists which I Googled was around 7,000 to 10,000 compared to the population which is there. And because of that numbers, there is a lack in number of a psychiatrist, which causes an issue in consultation. And for that, we adolescent health experts can work as a bridge to fill this gap. And this is a problem. Normally, what happens is that depression, when you see that they are withdrawn from others, they are skipping works, they are having sadness, sleeping a lot or very little, or having a eating disorders. This is what we see, but this is just a tip of icebergs. What we don't see is a shame, a numbness, a helplessness, a trouble focusing, guilt, a low self-worth, hopelessness, or problems with a memory. And for this, we need to discuss about this. So usually what happens whenever we are having a depression, at that time, there is either on this side or this side, there is an issue of a stress, and this stress can break you down. And because of that, you should actually discuss this. The question which come to our mind is why adolescents are more prone to a mental illness. Now, this is a period of rapid biopsychosocial growth. They are having an immature frontal cortex. If you see, the frontal cortex matures by around 20 to 25 years of age, which is our thinking cap or a thinking brain. But that is still not mature, and because of that, they are having issues.
Prashant
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry to disturb you. Can you go back to the previous slide? I like that graph.
Yeah, sir. The stress curve.
Yeah, please describe this in detail.
Okay. So usually what happens is normally we say that stress is not good. But see, if you see the yellow chart, that is a optimum stress in which your performance, this is on y-axis, there is a performance, on x-axis, there is a stress. So too little stress, if you're not having a stress, you usually be inactive and laid back, not to do anything. So you will not do anything. But if you are having an optimum stress, you are in a yellow zone in which you will perform better. You will be having a better performance. But if that stress becomes a distress or an overload, then there will be an exhaustion, there can be anxiety, panic, anger, and there will be a breakdown. So that can cause a problem. So this is a stress curve, usually, which we say that you should be there in a yellow curve, not to be in a green or a red, but be in a yellow so that you can perform better. I hope, sir, I have explained this.
Yes. Absolutely. It's George-Doddson's curves.
Yes, sir.
Stress management. Yeah, this is fantastic. This is fantastic. Yeah, please.
Now,
thank you.
Now, adolescents are having hormones which are at a peak levels, and actually because of this, they are having so many hormonal changes that also makes them prone to a mental illness. There are some other factors like the social factors, like the nuclear families, the social medias, OTTs. We'll be discussing in later, but this all can lead to more mental illness to them. Now, this slide, which I like the most from the Central AHA, that is adolescents are having a behavior which is actually a normal. But when you consider that as an abnormal, first, significant change in behavior, that is first severe, it is chronic, that is not consistent with the developmental age, and it affects the daily functioning as well as the family functioning. And the Osamaya model says that 50% of lifetime mental disorders present by this. So we must take care of this. Coming to a first case, I'll be having a first case discussion in detail, and there will be some few cases in which we'll just be seeing a depression. We'll not be discussing that. Now, this is a 17-year-old girl. She was living with her parents, studying in first year of college. She was not sleeping well since last 6 months, stopped talking with her friends, avoids going out with family members, irritable and shouts at her parents, and stopped going to dance class. Can I have some responses in the chat box? What is your thought process? For a minute, I will just stop and see the chat. I request our audience to say, what is your thought process? What do you think this is? Okay, so this is definitely a depression which we are getting. So this depression, see, reasons for a mental stress in teens are many. We already have seen why they are having a depression. But in mental stress in teens, main focus which is there in school or college performance, the competitive exam pressures, love or relationship problems, a body image issues, a financial constraints, a social media addiction, and a family or parental conflicts. Now, to see this, whether these are real issues, there was a study which was done in Trivandrum where around 1,247 students took part. And what was found that there was a scholastic backwardness in around 47.6%. And out of this, the reasons for a backwardness, they found that there were some love or affair issues in 13.5%, a family problems in 9.5%, a behavioral problems in 9.5%, adjustment problems in 7.2%, and a suicidal thoughts that were there in around 4%. And these are the suicidal thoughts which should be given alarm to us and must be referred. I'm sure Sushma Desai ma'am will cover this in detail, so I'm not touching this in much detail. One more study which was done by a National Alliance on Mental Illness, what they found that 1 in 3 students, they reported periods of a depression. 1 in 4 students reported having suicidal thoughts. 50% of students rated their mental health below average or poor. 1 in 7 students reported engaging in abnormal behavior, and 7% parents reported their college students as experiencing mental health issues. So out of this, if we see that there are so many issues with this, so how do we identify? And for this, we do have a HEADS questionnaire which can be used. So in HEADS questionnaire, first we ask a history of a home or environment. See, suppose there is a recent death in a family in a sensitive person, or there is a financial crisis, or a broken family is there. Suppose there is a violence at home, or the relation between family members is not good, that can lead to a mental health issues in adolescents. If we talk about education, if there is academic failure, bullying in a school or a college, or there is a competitive exam pressure or a career choice issues, that can also lead to issues. Eating habits, usually we ask for checking for the signs of a depression. There can be both the things. There can be a decreased appetite as well as an increased appetite. For activities, we say that these activities are important because this gives a dose. Dose means the hormones which are important for a happy hormones like the dopamine, serotonin, epinephrine, and oxytocin. These are the 4 hormones are important. Now, while asking for these activities, we usually ask for whether they were enjoying the activities which they used to do, whether they are staying away from the friends and passing time on the virtual world, not taking proper self-care, no exercise, sleep is disturbed, either excessive or not able to sleep, and lost interest in habits. So I made a mnemonic to ask for activities that is a MESH, MESH, mobile, exercise, sleep, and hobby, that can be asked. Drug history must be asked in this because they may start, or because they are taking, they may be having a mental health issues. And if there are some unusual prick marks, that can suggest some IV drug abuse also. Sexuality related things should be asked, like the recent breakup, signs of any sexual abuse, or lost interest in some sexual activities, or they can be a victim of a cyber sex. Safety, like the risky driving, drink and drive, and all this should be asked. And nowadays we say we must ask the history of spirituality also. So coming to this case, suicidal depression, again, ma'am will be discussing, but then coming to this case, we must identify the signs of a depression early. See, they may become too tired, too sad, too alone, or not taking interest. So that can be a main issue. If a person is a sensitive and there is a recent stressful event, be more alert, because these people are sensitive as well as impulsive because of their age and nature. So we must take care of them. Sadness of mood or decreased socialization. This was some music for that. Irregularities in college, loss of interest in all activities, feeling of thoughts of hopeless, sleeplessness, disturbed sleep, decreased appetite, increased food craving, crying spells, aggressions, decreased self-care, increased intake of alcohol or addictive substances, some risky behaviors, all this can lead to signs that are problematic. What we say is that there are some important alarming features, means if you found that they are going to odd places at odd time with the odd persons, that can be a problematic. There can be some unexplained marks of injuries, that can also be a problematic. This phenomena which says that if a person was depressed and the person becomes suddenly happy, then we feel that the person is cured, but no, it's not that. It's because the person was sad and has decided to do a self-harm, they become happy. And in this symptom also, we must raise our antennas. If they say goodbye, if they give away their prized possessions, talking about death, posting about the deaths on social medias, or if you find some suicidal planning things or attempts in them, then that can be a problematic. Now, these are some cases which were there, which says that this person may be having a depression. Say, for example, a case of a 19-year-old boy who stabbed family members 33 times because he was addicted to PUBG and was having a mental health issues like a depression. That was a problematic. This is one more case of a Pooja, 14-year-old. She was studying in 10th standard and she was changing the clothes in a bathroom. Someone has captured the photographs and made it viral. Now, this is a cyberbullying, but she became depressed because of this type of behavior. One more case, the Yatharth was good in study and Yashvi was jealous of him. Now, she made a fake Facebook profile and started sending the messages. You are very ugly. You are a dumb piece of shit. You're useless. You get effed up. Your mother is all this stuff things. Again, this is one type of a cyberbullying, but this leads to a depression in Yatharth. One more case of Ananya. She was a 16-year-old who started with an Instagram account. She posted few of her pics, but she was not getting a likes. So she has seen the pictures of someone else who was getting a lakhs of likes, and she posted some bold pics, and someone forwarded these pictures to a porn sites and written available for porn modeling, and that lead to a depression in that girl also. There are some sexting related things which can lead to a problem. Now, this girl was a 16-year-old. She was in 10th standard, good in study. Father gifted him an iPhone on 16th birthday. And she was very much active again on this. She posted some of the photographs on this, which were semi-nudes. And the thing was because she was in Goa on a party, in a bachelor's party, her boyfriend offered her a drink and added a rape drug in it, that is a flunitrazepam, and forced for a sexual relationship. Again, made a video viral that made her a victim of her depression. This is one more case of Arjun who was in 12th standard, good in studies. Father has actually given him a laptop and installed online software tutorials, which he was watching for his better academics. But then what happened was his academics were gradually decreasing. He was remaining awake whole night, watching porn continuously, and becoming depressed because of this. So these are some cases which happened. Now, a last case which I'll say is this: a 16-year-old boy was brought with a history of abnormal behavior in school and refusal. He claims he's being told by someone that his brother is intending to poison him. He appears confused when spoken to and does not complete a dialogue. Parents claim decreased sleep and excessive agitation. What is the diagnosis? This is the case of a psychosis in which we take a detailed head's history examination, and most important thing at this age is to rule out the organic psychosis causes like the SLE, Wilson's disease, additions, thyroid disease, parathyroid disease, and infections like the typhoid, HIV, and TB. And all, if negative, then the child must be referred urgently for a workup. Now, coming to the assessment of a depression cases, that there are so many scales which can be used. The first and foremost, which I am presenting, is Patient Health Questionnaire 2. Now, in this, we ask a history that over the past 2 weeks, how often have you been bothered by any of the following? Say, for example, little interest or pleasure in doing things, not at all is scored 0, several days is 1, more than half a day is 2, and nearly every day is scored 3. And the second question is feeling down, depressed, or hopeless, not at all is 0, several days is 1, more than half days is 2, and nearly every day is 3. If the score is 3 or more, it is having a good sensitivity and specificity for detecting major depressions, and the child must be referred. There are a few other scales like the PHQ-9, the back depression inventory, which is having a 21 scales, which can also be used. But all these are a screening tools which we can use. But whenever a case of a depression is there with us, we must keep in mind the other differential diagnoses like the adjustment disorders, the behavioral difficulties, the bipolar disorders, as well as the systemic illnesses, which we talked in ruling out the psychosis must also be ruled out. Now, if a child is having a depression, then how should you manage that depression? So for that, initial part is always a heads assessment and physical and systemic examination. Heads assessment is most important because many a times it's been seen that this individuals, the adolescents, sometimes only require a psychological counseling only. And for that, if you are having a heads assessment, that will definitely going to ask. If you are having a questionnaires, which we already discussed, that the PHQ2, PHQ9 and BDI, then afterwards, if we reassess them, then the severity, if it is decreased, that can say that our response to treatment is good. Now, educational assessment, this has to be done if there is a history of long-term poor academic performance, and a routine test usually should be done. Coming to a treatment part, the general psychosocial management. Now, this general psychosocial management is simple that in this we treat individuals and we also give some advices to families. In that, some stress management techniques, which I will discuss in the next slide. And simultaneously, we should teach them to build up their self-esteem and problem-solving techniques. We must teach them to have a mood diary also. And parenting programs or family therapies must also be done. Now, it's been said that if you want to manage your stress, this can be a separate talk. But in a short, if I say a daily exercise releases the endorphin, which is a 45 to 60 minutes of vigorous exercise is useful. If you are having a nutritious food that take care of your physical health, which is interlinked with your mental health, ask them to do one hobby which they like, whatever they like, whether they are liking drawing, singing, playing cricket, football, volleyball, or anything, but at least spare 30 minutes to 1 hour time of a hobby, which is most important. Social activity should be a physical and not a virtual. So that is the most important thing. And we say that there has to be a think positive. I mean, think positive. Everybody is having strengths and weaknesses. But if you think about your positive things, that gives you a belief that, yes, I can do this, and believe that you can do this, come out of these depressions. Meditations, and there are so many other ways which can be done, which will help to calm the mind. Along with this, most important thing is to teach them all life skills, the all 10 life skills. If we teach the adolescents, that can help them to come out from the depressions. See, there are different relaxation skills which can be done. Somebody can be doing a breathing exercise, somebody can do yoga, somebody can do guided imagery, or a progressive muscular relaxation. All these techniques are different techniques which can be useful to a different, but yes, if they give time to this relaxation skills, they will feel better. Psychotherapy with the CBT and interpersonal therapy is the most important, and I think Atul Kanikar sir is there, who is giving a nice talk on this. So I'm not going into much of details, but yes, we must learn the CBT and which can be useful. The drug which is useful is fluoxetine. Usually it should be started at a dose of 10 milligram once a day, and we can increase to 20 to 40 milligram. And the treatment has to be continued for 9 to 12 months. Most important thing, while you are giving a fluoxetine, you should be aware about the side effects like the nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, weight gain, diarrhea, sleep difficulties, gastritis, induction or exacerbation of suicidality, and precipitate the manic episodes. So, most important, while the person is on a drug treatment, you have to monitor regularly for the suicidal risk and manage that. That will be covered by Dr. Sushma ma'am. At the end, I love the adolescents, and adolescents, if they are given a developmentally supportive care, which was my talk in yesterday's Udaipur West Zone Pedicon, in that we found that if we want that they should come out of the depression, then first and foremost important thing is awareness. They should be made aware about their strengths and weaknesses. If they are aware about that, then they can focus more on their positive strengths. Digital literacy and digital detox, this is the need in today's era, because majority of depressions which are happening in today's world are due to a internet addiction disorders or a cyber related issues. So this must be taught to them. Whenever you are having an opportunity, you must grab it and you must teach them the life skills lessons and involve them in that. Adolescents are a unique, they are having their own love languages which are a unique, but most important for us is to give them unconditional love. We must have empathy with them, and we must teach from the younger periods, because it's been seen that the substance abuse, those who are consuming any type of substances, usually they start in adolescence. So if we teach them how to avoid that, then that can be a problem. That cannot be a problem in future. Sexuality and suicide related talks must be done with them well in advance, and there should not be any taboo in discussion regarding this. Again, teaching them the critical and creative thinking skills, which will be useful. Most important is effective open communication. We must have active conversation with them in which we listen more to them, and that will be beneficial. Saying no is a big thing, and many of the stress which adolescents are having is because they don't know how to say no. They must be taught it's not a word but a sentence, and must be taught how to say no to peers. I mean, it can be in form of a blunt no, it can be a cold shoulder, it can be alternatives, it can be a diverting the topics or anything. But yes, you must say no if you are not comfortable. That is the most important thing. And at the last, give time, a quality time in quantity to your adolescents. And whenever they are having some mental health issues, if you use this mnemonic, then I think you will be able to help them to come out from the mental health issues. So thank you so much. I have finished my talk. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Sir,
Thank you.
before the proceedings start, can you just switch off your screen? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I have one just simple question. How do you rule out organic depression from other things?
So, okay, organic psychosis or depression, which we said was, see, basically there can be a reasons of that are multiple reasons which can be there. First thing which can be there with organic depression is, say for example, anemia. Now, anemia can lead to a easy fatiguability or tired, but because of that, they may be having a feeling that they are not worth to do. They are not able to perform this, and they may have a depression because of that. And if you correct that anemia part, then what may happen is they may come out of that. Again, the other organic psychosis part, which we said, see, there are some clues which will be there in all this. Say, for example, an adolescent girl who is having a SLE will be having other organic things which will be there, or a chronic disorder which is there, and because of that, she is having a organic depression. So we teach them that these illnesses are a part of a life and how to live with that. And if we treat it better way, then they may come out of that. See, thyroid disorders are usually having a mood disorders, which are very common with that. And if you treat the thyroid disorders, then they will feel better. So if we are able to find out some illness which is there and you are able to treat that, that means that part is covered. So they may come out of that. So that is what we can do.
So basically depression is, it's a physical, mental, psychosocial, all sorts of complex things. So before we start the child on fluoxetine, we have to rule out the other causes. That is what
Yes.
you suggested.
Yes. So drug therapy is the last. I mean, it's a last therapy which we say. And actually, if you are giving a drug therapy, it's better to involve a multidisciplinary team. I mean, you should have on your board the psychiatrist, the psychologist, everybody on your team, so that you are giving a better treatment. Not only that you are starting a treatment, because many a times it happens that you are starting a treatment, but you are not having a proper follow-up with them. And as we already discussed, that fluoxetine can precipitate the suicidal thoughts. And if something happens to that child, that can be problematic. So it's
My
always...
second question would be, sir, if you allow, please.
Yes, sir.
What advice would you give to the parents who bring the child for these types of symptoms?
Okay, I think Sushma ma'am will cover, but then in brief, I will say, see, usually what happens is why we are worried, Atul sir. Depression is fine, that it's okay not to be okay. But why we are worried is severe depression can lead to a self-harm and suicidal things that can end the
If
life.
it's a moderate depression, maybe because of body image concerns, because of PCO, which is very much on the rise, because of bullying, or as you said in your lecture, whatever the other reasons are.
Okay.
Parents want to know ki hame kya karna hai, what should we do?
So the simple thing which we can say to parent is, first thing, I mean, the last topic which was there in my was give quality time to your child. See, if you are there with your adolescents, you can just listen to them. They will open up what is their issues. Say, for example, a child is having an issue of a body image. Now, whether it is a real body image issue or it is a perceived body image issue which she is having, at that time, if she is really having some body image issues, whether it is due to some organic causes, like if she is having a body image issue and that lead to either anorexia nervosa or bulimia, that leads to a problem, then at that time, the parents need to support that. If you take a proper nutrition, if you take a balanced diet, if you take all the nutritions in proper amount, you'll be having a good nutrition. If you do exercise, that exercise will help you to shape your body as well as to release the happy hormones like the endorphins, which will again be useful. So all these things can be done by parents. And most important thing, what we say is involvement of a parent in the same thing which they advise a child. Say, for example, if I say to a adolescent, do a meditation in form of either a breathing exercise or a yoga or any PMS, then the adolescent will actually not like to do that because they feel it as a boring initially. They will not do it that. So at that time, the role of family comes that, okay, suppose we are 4 members in the family, we all will sit in a room in which we'll just be doing a breathing exercise or a guided imagery. I mean, a guided imagery, the adult's role will be that they will know the adolescents' positive things, and they can say to adolescents that suppose you are sitting in a room in which you are sitting in a garden and you like to play some cricket game. So you can just ask adolescent to close the eyes. Once they close the eyes, they will be seeing a garden in which they are playing a cricket. At that time, the adult will again say that, okay, now you are playing cricket with the bat, somebody is bowling, and you are just hit a sixer. Now, how do you feel that? At that time, when the eyes are closed, even though, because the feeling of hitting a sixer will give a kick, the adolescent will feel good, and that feeling of good will actually release again the happy hormones in our body that can be useful. But for this, the most important thing which we expect from the parents is giving a time. And when they give this time to adolescents, that will be a most useful thing.
That's a very great statement of yours. Do you think that in your practice also at Surat, we see many girls nowadays, the PCOS is rising.
Yes.
And because of that, they have so many body image issues.
Yes.
And they're actually disliked by their friends. So, they feel sad. And the depression starts from sadness,
Yes.
They use all sorts of cosmetics and beauty parlors and everything. So, do you think nutrition or the eating habits of the family, you have involved family here, so does that contribute to the rising depression in teenagers?
I'll say yes, Atul sir, because I'm going to one school in which what we have found is that this PCOS issue is increasing, but before that, the issue of obesity is increasing, and the obesity is increasing because of the junk food habits which the parents are having. So usually what happens that a third standard girl, one of the third standard girl who started periods, she was weighing 48 kgs. I mean, that is at 9 years of age, she was weighing 48 kgs. And when we had taken a head's history in eating habits, what was happening is a twice or a thrice a week, they are having a junk foods. And this junk foods, actually what happens is the parents are a working parents. And because of that, they are feeling it.
That is my point, Prashant sir. That is my point, that all this is acting together.
Yes, yes.
Your physical, social, mental, environmental, everything is acting together to increase the incidence of depression.
Yes,
But
sir.
as you said, we have to work on multiple levels when we try to prevent depressions or treat depression. Treatment is, we just are very fond of writing prescriptions. Fluoxetine is a very cheap drug, easily available. But before that, we have to have so many activities on all the platforms.
So 90% things are non-medical things, and 10% cases may only
Exactly.
require a fluoxetine. That is what
That is
is
my
the
point.
message. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So over to Trupti madam. Are there any questions in the chat box?
So there is one question in the chat box. If time permits, can we take that question?
Yeah, please.
Dr. Prashant, the question is for you. You have given that one questionnaire to detect the depression. So the audience has asked the question, with that questionnaire, can we label it as a depression, or just for the screening purpose, we can use that too?
It's a screening purpose, but it has to be a persistent symptoms for last 2 weeks. It's not only a yesterday you are feeling a sad. If it is persistent for a period of 2 weeks, then we can say, yes, it is problematic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Shall we proceed ahead, sir? Atul, sir?
Madam, we have to profusely thank Prashant Karia sir for this particular elaborate talk, case-based talk.
Yes, sir. That's why I'm
Please,
proceeding. If you have any question, or shall I proceed with the Thanksgiving for the Prashant? Thank you, Dr. Prashant, for your wonderful and very informative talk.
Yeah. Sushma Desai madam was to join.
She is there. She is there. Ma'am is there. Ma'am is there.
Thank you, Prashant, for your very informative talk and very excellent PPT presentation. The slides were really very wonderful and very informative. And Prashant is one of the adolescent practitioners who nurtures adolescence in him. Thank you very much for joining, Dr. Prashant. Now, our next speaker for our next talk is on suicide prevention in adolescence. And to give justice to the topic, we have an eminent speaker from the Surat, Dr. Sushma Desai. Welcome to you, ma'am. Ma'am is doing huge work on suicide prevention. She has given justice to many honorable posts, and one of them is President of Surat Pediatric Association in year 2013 and 15. She is a founder president of Adolescent Health Academy Chapter, Surat branch. She is a founder member 2013. Ma'am has Mission Uday, Mission School Uday, and many more, including Awesome Aya. Ma'am has published many books, and one of them is IAP Manual on Suicide Prevention in Office Practice. We are very fortunate to have you, ma'am, on this topic, today's session. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And I truly feel honored, especially because I am amongst the eminent people from IIT Maharashtra, AHN Nasik, and above all, my dear friend, Dr. Atulji, who is there with me today. And I'm so much honored to have him with me. So he himself has done a lot of work, and I'm honored to speak in front of him. So thank you, sir, for inviting me. And should I start my screen sharing?
Please do that.
Can you see my screen? Is my screen visible?
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
We can see you and we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, creating hopes through action. This is the triennial theme for Suicide Prevention Day that falls on 10th of September. And it's a powerful call to all of us to come into the action for the prevention of suicide in youth through our actions which inculcate hopes in them, which creates hopes that there is always an alternative to suicide. So let us all join hands to prevent suicide by creating hopes through our action. Isn't it moving? Yeah. So we will be discussing in brief. First thing I would like to say, I will focus only on youth suicide, the suicide in adolescent, and it will be a brief talk, and we will address more questions thereafter. So we will be having an overview of the gravity of the problems, some of the reasons, risk factors, as well as protective factors, which will help adolescent, to avoid such a drastic situation. Some of the warning signs, which are very, very adolescent-specific warning signs, and some action plan in brief, which we can apply in our office practice, as well as which is helpful in our community work as well. So, if you look at the statistical data of National Crime Bureau, this is the latest data. It says that youth suicide in India is highest in the world. Every day, our 35 brilliant students, they commit suicide in our country. Changing trend is very alarming. The last statistic says that the suicide rates amongst girls below 18 is it outnumbers that in the boys. Previously, 2019 statistics says that attempts are more common in girls, but the completed suicide is more common in boys. Now this trend is changed. We are losing our precious girls. Otherwise, also we have less number of girls in our country. So, and it has been found that the stress, the girls are facing more stress from the families, from the society, and they are the victim of relationship abuse as well. That may be the underlying cause of their suicidality. Another shocking statistic is worldwide, highest number of suicide occurs in the age group of 15 to 19 years, and we are the greatest contributor to this age group suicide. In this age group, the rates of suicide in man is twice the global average, while in female, it is 6 times higher than the global average. The studies and the research have found that mental health problem, which is undetected or untreated, is the leading cause, and depression is on the top of the list, which Dr. Prashant has very well described. We all know we have a huge scarcity of mental health professionals in our country, as much as 87%. So the onus of responsibility lies on us, the pediatrician, to identify these cases at the earliest, to intervene and provide them timely management for the prevention of suicide. Now, just a brief idea about why the youth are so vulnerable to suicidality. We have discussed this so many times. Neurobiologically, in brief, very simplest way, the emotional brain limbic system develops fully during early pubertal years, but the thinking brain, prefrontal cortex, develops fully by mid-20s. So we all know this gap makes them highly emotional. They are impulsive. They are highly sensitive to intrinsic as well as environmental factors, and they become they have a limited stress management capacity. They face heightened stress response. So these all, together with high octane drama of hormonal surge, make them push them towards experimentation with their sexuality, the alcohol and the drugs, and they become easy victim of various media hazards. These all are various reasons behind their high vulnerability of suicidality amongst the youth. Despite a detailed research for years, it is very difficult to find a single cause behind a suicide. It's actually it's an end result of complex interactions amongst various factors, multiple factors. They can be biological, psychosocial, they can be environmental, and many more. So it's actually it is a multifactorial event. But almost all the youth, they are, facing all these difficulties. They are exposed to the similar stressors. But why only few of them are vulnerable to suicide? There are some risk factors, which is the reason behind that. The most important being the underlying mental health illness. Depression on the top of the list, substance use disorders, anxiety disorders, neurobehavioral problems, conduct disorders, they all contribute a lot to this media addiction, pornographic addiction, gaming addiction, cyberbullying, and the pre-suicidal websites, right? They all contribute a lot to their mental health problems. Those who have attempted suicide previously, they are at the highest risk. It has been found that the risk remains highest during the first year after the attempt, but it remains very high during following 5 years. Those who are victims of the social, domestic or sexual abuse, they are highly vulnerable to mental health problems. And it has been found that not only the victim, but the perpetrator is also on a higher side of risk, under the risk or the suicidality. So either way, the suicidality is higher in these people. Those who have sexuality issues like LGBTs, especially when they are coming out in front of family or in society, they become, because of poor response from the family and society, they become suicidal, intensely suicidal. And we all know the adolescents are exposed to too many stresses, and that coupled with the lack of coping skills make them actually vulnerable. And these stresses, especially if it comes from the family, from the peer group, and from the romantic relationship, it makes them a little bit higher on the risk side. The family history, apart from the discordant family, parental, divorce or single parent, or parental pressure for the academics, and various other reasons like following certain societal norms. For the girls, it is, they are continuously pressurizing their daughters to follow all those norms, and that keeps their daughter under tremendous stress. So, apart from this family discord, the family history of psychiatric disorder is a very big factor, especially if somebody in the family has committed suicide or attempted suicide. The risk becomes 6 times higher in the vulnerable adolescent, right? Substance use in one or multiple family members, facilitates the substance use in addictive substance use in adolescents. And there is a higher chance of addictability. Not only that, it is very difficult to get out of it. De-addiction is next to impossible in this children. School and peer group have a great role to play. If you look at the Indian statistics, they have 3 bigger reasons. The 3 important reasons on the top of the list behind their suicide are: 1, the family problems; another, the stressful academics; and 3rd one is the romantic relationship problems. So the negative school environment, negative peer pressure, like too much competitiveness, and in this class and in the school, right? Bullying, both the bully as well as the bullied, both have a higher tendency of suicidality. And those having poor academic performance due to various reasons, they are also highly sensitive to suicidal thoughts. Actually, in adolescents, more than 23% of the adolescents have off and on suicidal thoughts in their mind. They are flickering. They are not serious about it. But when they become vulnerable to the situation, and there are some risk factors associated with it, there is a higher chance that they can, attempt the suicide. And then it adds up to the risk of the suicidality. They are highly sensitive to the external factors, especially if somebody in the family, if they commit suicide, they become 6 times higher sensitive to suicidality, especially if they have other risk factors as well. Another thing is if it occurs in the school or it occurs in the hostel, then or workplace, then the risk becomes, hundreds of the students, they are affected at the same time. And because they have a ready plan and they have the intensity of the impulse, especially if they have recently faced a trigger in their life, they become, more sensitive to the suicidality and they may attempt the suicide. That usually in adolescence, the suicide, attempt of suicide is more kind of an impulsive act. And when the strong impulse of suicidality occurs, the weapon or means of suicide is easily available. There is a higher chance that this adolescent will end up committing the suicide. We all know the copycat suicide. If in media, the celebrity suicide is inappropriately glorified. They discuss this matter for days together. They even describe the method and the events in a detail that gives them, the ready-made plan, and that makes them think that if they end their life, they will also be, it will also be glorified and they will be, getting some glory in media. So this kind of the thinking will lead to copycat suicide. In Japan, a very famous teenager singer, she committed suicide by jumping from the 17th floor of the hotel. This suicide was followed by 366 suicide attempts, and out of that, 104 died on the spot. So this kind of a copycat suicides are common in youth. When the youth commit suicide, actually the research have found that there are some factors which will push them strongly towards the suicidal attempt. The most important being some predisposition. For example, some underlying mental health problem, or the adolescent is passing through the phase of severe distress. Now, if at that point of time, the recurrent thoughts of self-harming comes in their mind off and on, right? And in that, during that period, if some trigger happens, like examination failure, relationship breakup, or something like that, it hurts them deeply, make them angry and very much disturbed within. They start feeling that just want to end this pain by any cost. And they use the easiest way to self-harming behavior. Right? They feel like being trapped in this situation. They feel that nobody can help to get out of this painful situation. And at that point of time, they, try to end the life, to end those. Another thing is at that point of the impulse, if they have a facilitator, for example, they are under influence of the alcohol, there is a, the inhibition is lifted, the sound thinking is gone. So it's a higher chance that they attempt the suicide at that point of time. And of course, they, by coincidentally or any other, unfortunately, if the opportunity is available, they choose their plan, there is a higher chance. So usually there are 4 important factors: some predisposition, a trigger which has recently occurred, a facilitator, right, which will increase the their courage to end the life, and the opportunity to choose their plan. These all together will create an atmosphere that will facilitate a suicide attempt in them. Now, at that point of time, if the adolescent has some protective factor, there is a higher chance that the adolescent gets a hope, a timely help, and postpones the suicidal act. We need to understand that the vulnerable adolescent, the suicidal adolescent, does not, drop the idea of suicide. There is just a postponement. They are still very vulnerable and they need a close supervision. So, if they have a protective factor like strong family support, warm and caring parents, understanding parents with authoritative parenting styles, the supportive peer group, if they have a social support, if there is an absence of underlying mental health disorder, and if when the impulse comes at that point of time, if there is no easy availability of the weapon, there is a higher chance that the impulse gradually dies out. By the time he tries to gather the means, the impulse gradually dies out and he or she postpones the plan. So these are some of the factors which we need to focus about. Some of the personality traits like resilient adolescent, good coping skills, very good life skills in them, that again is a big protective factor. And that is why we need to inculcate life skills, especially self-awareness, decision-making, critical and creative thinking, sound judgment. So these kind of the life skills definitely help them to sail through the turbulent period smoothly. Now, so WHO has proposed this cascade of events. This is very important to understand. It shows the whole path through which the adolescent passes before committing suicide. So, for example, an adolescent is having some kind of a underlying mental health problem or is passing through the severe distress. At that point of time, if some stressful event occurs, the trigger happens that creates an acute mood change. This point of time, the adolescent becomes suicidal and starts showing some warning signs. Now, suppose at this point of time, the adolescent such warning signs are picked up, the timely help is given to this adolescent. There are coupled with some of the protective factors out there, absence of mental health illness, supportive family, supportive peer group, or timely help from a mental health professional or a pediatrician. There is a high chance that a precious life is saved. But if there is a facilitator, as I mentioned, underlying severe mental health problem, alcohol consumption, or there is an easy availability of plan and weapon, there is a high chance that, or especially if the warning signs are not picked up or not, the adults do not pay attention to them, there is a higher chance that the adolescent becomes totally hopeless and a precious life is lost. So this cascade of event is very, very important. Now, American Association of Suicidality have proposed some of the warning signs. It has been found that almost 80% of the youth will show some warning sign before committing suicide. Nobody wants to die, we all know, especially during the most dynamic and most healthy period of their life. So it is very hard for any youth to take such decisions. And they show some warning signs, which is actually a cry for help. This is a desperate effort to get some timely help so that they can get some hopes and they can postpone the life-threatening, some action. So it is our responsibility, the stakeholders' responsibility, to identify this warning signs on time to provide them a timely help. So I would describe some of the very adolescent-specific warning signs, right? The most important being anhedonia. They start taking interest in the fun activities, especially the activities which they like the most. एक बच्चा था तो he was a very good cricket player in our university in my city, and he stopped playing cricket, right? He stopped taking interest and his game was deteriorated gradually, right? At one point of time, he stopped going even for the practice, and the time came when even the family, the family, it sits together to watch a match on the TV, he will shout loudly and stop that match. So the person who is so good at cricketer, so much fond of playing a cricketer, crazy about it, would stop totally taking interest in the fun game. They're socially isolated. They will not even mingle with the family and the friends. So this is a very alarming sign. Another thing is prolonged sadness of mood, right? There is a strong feeling of hopelessness, right? They have lost the hopes in themselves, in the society, and especially in the life. They feel that life is not worth living. Or they start thinking like, अगर मैं नहीं होगा तो किसको कोई फर्क पड़ने वाला नहीं है, right? And life has nothing to offer to them now. So this kind of a hopelessness, helplessness, nobody can help me get out of the situation, and worthlessness. Only I am not able to handle such situation. I look at my friends, they all are so much able to do that, but I am lacking in that, skills, and I am worthless. Inappropriate guilt is another thing. So they start thinking that whatever negative things happens around them is because of them, right? So one particular, boy, he was a school cricket team captain, and he started losing the grip on that game because of the relationship issues. Now, one day he would say that, they took part in tournament, and coincidentally or unfortunately, the school lost the tournament consecutively 3 times. So he started feeling that the whole team lost the tournament because he could not play well. And this boy, was actually a patient of severe major depression, and he committed suicide. A boy of 12th standard. So inappropriate guilt is another very significant feature. Deteriorating school performance is contributed by multiple factors. They are irregular in their presence. घर से निकलेंगे, garden में बैठे रहेंगे. Even they reach to college or school, they will sit in the library or canteen. They will, even if they are in the class, they are inattentive. They are completely absent. And suddenly if teacher asks some question, they give a startled response. They are absent, right? Deteriorating school performance is the end result of all this, and that contributes to that hopelessness and despair in them. Another very important thing is, especially this is found in adolescent boy, they become highly aggressive, right? They are very snappy, easy to anger, and they indulge easily into the fights. This is very, very common. A boy in NIT, in my city, he could not adjust himself in the new environment. He was totally homesick and could not cope up with the studies. He gradually became, so much irritable. He would indulge into fights for a trivial reason with all the friends. He actually had beaten a boy who was working on a chai ki lari, right? And then only within a day or two, he committed suicide. So they become aggressive. As I earlier said, they start bullying others, which is so uncharacteristic of that particular person, or they become easy victim of the bullying. So both the way, this is a warning sign. Another thing is uncharacteristic life-threatening behavioral pattern. Risk-taking behavioral pattern is common in adolescents, but the adolescents, some of the adolescents, they are not too much into risk-taking behavior. They suddenly start taking back. One of the boys in my city, he found driving his two-wheeler at a very high speed. He smashed himself with a divider and died on the spot. Actually, later on, it was found that he was a known patient of severe depression, and he had attempted suicide previously also. So this kind of a life-threatening risk-taking behavioral pattern is a very characteristic of adolescents. Decreased self-care. They lose interest in themselves. They will, the adolescents who are so fond of grooming themselves will, stop दिनों तक शेविंग नहीं करेंगे, they would not take bath, सुबह के जो कपड़े पहने हुए हैं दूसरे दिन तक वही रहेंगे. There is a total lack of self-interest. Their social media activity is very, very noticeable. Either they become completely absent from the social media, or they may post some very indicative messages on it. Sushant Singh Rajput posted a very indicative messages. One of the very famous Hollywood actress, Demi Moore, she has established an organization who picked up such doubtful, indicative messages and pressed the person. They have saved many lives by now. So the social media activity, indicative messages, we need to be careful about. They may start taking an addictive substance, or if they are already into it, they will increase the consumption. They will say goodbye to loved ones. Sometimes even not only to loved ones, but they will try to patch up and say sorry to the enemies, the foes as well. A girl in Kota, is she, one day she would visit all the hostel rooms of the friends, saying that आज मिलने का बहुत मन हो रहा था, or there was a rival in her class. I mean, she would positively go there, meet that girl, and saying that कुछ भी हुआ हमारे बीच में अभी तक, I'm so sorry for that. आज मुझे आपसे मिलने का बहुत मन हो रहा था. The same night, she hanged herself in the hostel room and committed suicide, giving away prized possession. एक बच्चे के पास उसका वीरेंद्र सहवाग का साइन किया हुआ बैट था, क्रिकेट बैट. He was a very good player himself. एक दिन उसने वही बैट he gifted to the room partner, saying that I think you will take care of this, right, in a better way. अभी मुझे नहीं लग रहा मैं कभी क्रिकेट खेलूंगा. The bat was so dear to him, he would not allow anybody to touch that. And this boy committed suicide. Again, an engineering student. Non-suicidal self-injuries, those cuts, right? They are actually, these adolescents, they do not want to end their life. But it is very, very suggestive that they are under severe stress and they need urgent help. I am a witness of a very unfortunate incident. A brilliant medical student, she showed such cuts that the family ignored, thinking that she is, doing this for the attention seeking. This girl died out of suicide. So we need to pay attention to these children and provide that timely help. As Prashant described previously, the children or the adolescents who are sad for quite a long time, they have a different mood changes for quite a long time, and they suddenly show the happiness. It suggests that they have decided to end the pain. Mostly, these children have a plan and a weapon ready. So this is extremely alarming sign. A medical resident, he was sad for quite a long time, the orthopedic resident. And suddenly one day he would enter into the canteen saying, "Aaj ki chai meri taraf se ekdam in a hilarious mood." And the same day, night, when his room partner was on duty, he committed suicide. So these are some of the serious, warning signs, especially if you find something, suggestive as a weapon in their possession, some pills, poisonous substances, rope, etc. This is a serious warning sign. We need to pick up these warning signs on time. Otherwise, it becomes too late. So how can we identify these children in our clinic? The most important tool is hats. We all know, and Prashant also described in detail about the hats. You all must be knowing that one of the S in these three S's stands for suicidality. HATS gives us wealth of information regarding the home front, the school front, the presence of various risk factors, the triggers, right? If recently something has happened in their life, some warning signs that is very, very indicative, and we can make it out with the HATS screening. With a good observation, we can definitely pick it up, right? We can ask if we have anything positive, right? Suggestive in HATS screening. We can ask about ideation. We can ask about the plan. And if this the answers to these questions the reply to these questions are, suggestive of suicidality, WHO has proposed a very good screening questionnaire, which we can use in our office practice. I will discuss it later on. There are some definitely office-friendly tools. Prashant also discussed about it to identify the mental health illness, like PHQ-2, PHQ-9, teenager screening questionnaire for mental health. These all are good for the, depression. The SCARED for anxiety disorder, is H2BI for substance use. Next scale of hopelessness is a very, very good supportive tool if used with Ask for Suicide Screening Questionnaire to identify the level of despair and hopelessness, which is very much suggestive of the suicide attempt in a recent recent coming time. Can we ask this question immediately? No. We need to establish a rapport with the adolescent. When the adolescent feels comfortable talking to you, he is in the process of you expressing the negative feeling. We can ask this suicide screening questionnaire, which is proposed by WHO as a physician's guide. So what are these questions? Do you feel unhappy and helpless? Do you feel desperate? Do you feel the life is a burden? You do not feel it worth living? And if the answer to this question is suggestible, then you need to ask, do not hesitate to ask the last question. Do you feel like committing suicide? You can ask like this. The young people in your age, when they are passing through severe distress, sometimes they think of terminating their life. Do you also feel like this? Do you feel some suicide ideas? You will mark a great, feeling of relief on their face. They feel that they are better understood by this person, and they will start opening up. If that is the positive, they have a suicidal ideation, and we must go further for asking about the plan, anything in their possession, any date or time if they have decided the methods. If the adolescent has a ready plan and a weapon in their possession with a strong determination, it is a higher chance that they may attempt suicide. They need urgent attention. This is a PHQ-2. This is Ask for questionnaire, which is just 4 questions to be asked. If anything, any of the question has an affirmative answer, ask the last question. Are you having thoughts of killing yourself right now? If the answer to this question is affirmative, this adolescent is a high-risk case for a higher chance of suicide attempt in near future. They need hospitalization and close supervision. These are the various mental health assessment tools. Now, all the adolescent with suicide ideation needs referral. It is always good to have a psychiatrist in our loop for the management of this kid. But some of them need urgent referrals. Right? Who are they? First, those who are having a risk factor, those who have a positive Ask for questionnaire, those who have attempted suicide previously, those who are having a chronic debilitating disease or no social support. But before referring, we need to, discuss the need for the referral with the adolescent as well as with the parents or caretakers, and need to emphasize the need for the referral. We need to try to, allay the anxiety related to social stigma associated with psychiatric reference. And we need to emphasize the effectivity of counseling and the psychopharmacotherapy. We need to talk to the psychiatrist, arrange an appointment, and then send the patient under supervision. When should we hospitalize these cases? Those having a high intent to die. Ask for questionnaire positive. The adolescent who is under severe agitation, who is in a position of the weapon or the means of suicide, and there is no support, right? So these children, they require close supervision under hospital. But before we send for the hospitalization, we need to book prepared. We need to talk to the hospital authorities, and we need to, if required, we need to even arrange for the transportation also. We should transport this kit under close supervision of the caretaker. WHO has proposed this very simple management plan of a suicidal adolescent. It is worth keeping under the table. The steps are just like I narrated before. This is a very good safety plan. Actually, for the adolescents, the safety plan comes in a color-coded way. They are more attractive. It is a tool. It's a very powerful tool. It will support and guide the adolescent when he is under the impulse of suicidality. This plan should be drafted when the adolescent, after the suicidal, impulse, or in between, when they have some hopes for their life. It mentions their strengths. It mentions the warning signals. It mentions the triggers, right? And of course, it has all the contact numbers of their resource persons, as well as the supportive family members or friends. So that also it mentions the helpline number, local helpline number. So that when there is a strong despair, when there is a strong ideation of suicidality, the adolescent can contact these people and get immediate help. This is the last slide. The WHO has proposed the suicide prevention program, and that is known as SUPRE. It has suggested, this is a wheel of suicide prevention, and he has suggested 7 steps. Out of that, it has, emphasized on 3 important steps. 1, making the environment safe. When the adolescent is suicidal, it is very, very important that the means of suicide is not handy. Another thing is early detection of underlying mental health problem. Onus of responsibility lies on us at this point of time. And the responsible media reporting, there is a clear media guidelines proposed by WHO and government, as well as the International Association of Suicide Prevention, regarding the media reporting, regarding the physician management, regarding guidelines for the teachers and the caretakers. They all are there. You can get it on internet. They are easily, freely available. So to conclude, we have seen that suicide is a leading cause of death in our adolescents. We are losing our precious life through suicide. Actually, it is an end result of complex interaction amongst various factors. So it is the responsibility of the stakeholders, all of us, to identify these risk factors and provide them as many protective factors as well. Especially the pediatricians should screen the adolescent in their office practice for mental health problems and should try to provide the timely help so that we can save a precious life. These are the helpline numbers, these are all India helpline numbers, which are updated recently in September. And the most important, I usually give these helpline numbers whenever I go for school and college programs. Recently, I conducted a program for the PG students of psychology department. And after some days, one of the students called me up saying that those helpline numbers could save my life, madam. I'm thankful to you. So definitely make it a point to, hand over this helpline number. The childline number, we all know, 1098. So friends, let us join hands for creating hopes through action. Let us spread awareness amongst ourselves in the community and spread awareness, especially amongst the stakeholders like parents, teachers, and other caretakers regarding the various aspects of suicidality in adolescents. These are the references. These are state-wise helpline numbers, and these are numbers for the Maharashtra, because I'm talking to Maharashtrian pediatricians. So they are working 24/7, 365, and there is a 3-tiered counseling system. They have, saved multiple lives by now. So it's if you want to note it, you can. Otherwise, if you want me to share it with some of the office bearers, I'll definitely share. Thank you so much. And thanks a lot for giving me opportunity to talk on one of the topics which are so close to my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the excellent talk. The talk is really helpful. Especially you are providing that helpline number that is definitely Maharashtrian people is going to use. Plus silence to action is a appealing tagline. Everyone also is feeling like, yes, we should do something to save our adolescents.
Thank you.
The mnemonic that you have given is the path form will help all of us to identify the warning signs to prevent the suicide. Thank you very much, ma'am, from the bottom of my heart and from the Maharashtra IIP Academy and the AHN Nasik. Thank you very much, ma'am. I would like to thank all our audience who listened both the talks very patiently. I like to thank our both speakers once again, Dr. Prashant and Dr. Sushma ma'am, for giving excellent and very informative talk with a wonderful PPT presentation. I would like to thank our flyer maker and Zoom Meet creator, Pallavi Dharmadhikari ma'am. Also, I would like to thank our brain behind this program, Dr. Atul sir, for giving us such a wonderful, with us such an excellent topic. They are giving very justice to their topic. Thank you, Atul sir, from
Yes, sir.
all the pediatrician faculty. I also would like to thank our President Maha-IIP, Dr. Ramakant Patel sir, Secretary Dr. Amol Pawar sir, along with that AHA President Dr. Sucheta ma'am, and my co-coordinator Dr. Trupti for making this session successful. Thank you very
If
much.
your formalities are complete, let me thank Dr. Sushma Desai. She is a master in all this.
Oh,
She's a
sir.
master.
I'm honored.
All the time when I was driving for my emergency call, I was listening to her talk. So, and she is doing a lot of work in suicide prevention, and hats off to her. And Prashant Karia sir, he's a rising star of AHA. So, maza aa gaya. That is what I would say.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
And both were congruent and very apt for their topics. And I'm very glad that I was part of this. We will have so many programs down the line. There is no end to it. I'm driving, so I'm not looking at the mobile. I'm just driving my car. The signal is green. But this is fantastic. I mean, we have so many people, talented people, and we need to make the apt resources for the apt cause. That is what I would say. And Reena madam, Silva madam, Amol Pawar sir, Ramakant Patil sir, Trupti Mahatme madam, Amcha Reena Rathi madam. There are, so many people. Nashik AHA is, it's like growing. I'm sorry for this particular parking problem, but that is what it is. So, everything is going in the right way. And
Under
we
your
need to
excellent
keep
guidance, sir.
this momentum.
Under your excellent
Arey
guidance,
madam,
nothing will
मेरा
go
क्या
wrong.
guidance होता है?
Definitely, the guidance is required, sir.
अरे बाबा ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. But now the things are moving from Maharashtra to India to international. So we
You
need to
have
work on
created the
that.
path for us. We are just walking on it.
I do want
No,
to
no, no,
express
no.
my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Atulji. This is in continuing
अरे
with the
मैडम,
series of talks.
आप मुझे शर्मिंदा कर रहे हो.
No, sir. It is in a continuum with the series of talks I'm taking throughout the September month, and I invite all of you to join hands and join our program in suicide prevention. This is probably 20 or 21st program. I'm taking on suicide prevention, and I'm really very, very thankful to all of you that you give me an opportunity to, share my thoughts.
How we can spare you from this particular task? You are one of us.
Yeah,
And that
thank
is
you,
that
sir.
particular feeling, no? That you are one of us. That
Thank you so much.
matters a lot.
Yeah, I'm honored, sir. I'm truly honored. Truly
No,
honored.
no, we are honored to have you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Last
Dhanyavad.
not the least, I would like to thank our President, Chairperson AHA, Dr. Sukranta Chatterjee, sir, who had joined and given his valuable time. With all this, I conclude my vote of thanks. Thank you, everyone. Have a happy Sunday. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good day.